Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Kasih Kasrina Bipinawardi and I'm 12 years old from Sekolah Rendah Kebangsaan Sebernet Dalat. My school code is YCB 3505. Today I'm going to do a book review on one of my favorite books. As you can see, the title of the book is Rapunzel. This book is written by Giada Francia and illustrated by Francesca Rossi. This book is published in 2014 by White Star Kids. It has 61 pages including front and the back cover. The story is about Nicholas and his young wife that live in a small village surrounded by fields. They dream of having a baby for many years. Then one day, their wish came true. Anna ran to the market to tell her husband about the news. Nicholas was so surprised about the news. Anna really wanted a chocolate, but there was no chocolate in that village. Nicholas asked her to think of something that he can brought home to her without going to the city. Anna looked at the window and sighed. Then she wished she had a garden like her neighbors that was rumored a witch. And indeed, a witch she was. Anna saw delicious Rapunzel at her neighbor's shop. She thought the Rapunzel looked awesomely delicious. The more she looked at it, the more she wanted. She wanted Nicholas to sneak into the garden of that witch. That night, Nicholas climbed over the wall that surrounded their neighbor's garden. After collecting a handful of Rapunzel, he hurried home. Nicholas doesn't want to go back into that garden again. Maybe the Rapunzel really was bewitched, because after tasting it, Anna refused to eat anything else until she became ill. Nicholas was desperate. He decided to sneak back into the garden. However, he got caught for sneaking into the garden. Nicholas promised the witch that he would give his daughter to the witch as an exchange for the Rapunzel that he took. After a few years, the witch knocked on their door. Even though Nicholas and Anna have tried their best to hide their little girl, but the witch raised her stick and whispered a spell, managed to take the girl from her mother's arm and vanished with her. The witch named the child Rapunzel, and they lived in a small house hidden deep in the forest. Only a few travelers ever visited those parts. And the witch told everyone she was the child's grandmother and the girl had been orphaned in a tragic accident. She told Rapunzel the same thing and she never ever doubted her words. For years, Rapunzel lived alone with her grandmother and never cut her long blonde hair. She was a happy child, loved to sing, and grow a flower beside experimenting with the little magic she had learned from her grandmother. The witch became very fond and overprotective of the girl, and was so afraid of losing her that she forbade her to talk to anyone and strayed too far from the house. One day, the witch suggested she went further into the forest to collect mushrooms to do a magic potion. Rapunzel was delighted to be allowed to go into the forest because she hardly given the opportunity to work freely outside the house. Not long after that, Rapunzel accidentally saw a prince on his horse in the forest. Rapunzel hid behind a bush, but the prince saw her hiding. After that, they started to talk, unknowingly the day was getting dark. Rapunzel promised to meet him again the next day, and she immediately went home. The witch was so furious when she heard what Rapunzel had done all day long in the forest. There was nothing Rapunzel could say to make the witch forgive her. She took one of the mushrooms that the Rapunzel had collected and whispered a spell. The witch had transformed it to a tower. She forced Rapunzel to go through the door at the bottom of the tower, and while she followed behind. She cast another spell to make the stairs and the doors disappear. The witch then threw Rapunzel's long hair out of the window and used it as rope to climb down from the tower. While Rapunzel was a prisoner in the tower, the prince began a long journey, which lasted for many years searching for her. Luckily, when he took his horse into the forest, he heard a sound he recognized. It was Rapunzel singing. He soon realized that the poor young woman was imprisoned in the tower. No one could enter, nor she escape. The prince watched quickly as he saw an old woman making her way to the tower. He copied what the old woman had done earlier. Finally, the prince found Rapunzel and helped her out of the tower. They finally got married and lived happily ever after. The moral of the story is do not take something without permission. You should read this book because it has eye-catching, colorful illustration that will attract many young readers to read it. That's all for today. Thank you for watching.